Okay. What is real estate? All right, Melissa, you want to go tell her how you stole her referral?
I did tell her she has to pay for her own thing. She ain't still.
All right. So, what is real estate? Chapter 5. Who can tell me what is real estate? What is it? What is real estate? Money. So wait, nobody's answering this. So my question now is, what are you guys doing here? Because you're going to be real estate salespersons. Nobody knows what real estate is. So what are you selling?
Land, public property.
Okay. First of all, you're selling a service. You're not selling or buying property. Let me go after that real quick. Second, real estate involves a lot of stuff. There's land by itself, and there's real estate, which is land plus improvements. Okay?
You said what, land plus improvements?
Correct. Now, the word estate has a meaning. Who can tell me what estate means? So you didn't tell me you're going to go get shakes and stuff. That's different.
They took too long, huh?
Shakes? No. What is the word estate?
Property.
Well, property, but say it again.
Ownership.
Ownership. Assets. Okay, which could be property, So it could be real property or personal property. But the word estate means assets. If you guys want to write it down, estate means assets. Something that you own. That's why when there's an estate sale, that means somebody passed away and they have to sell the assets previously owned by the deceased person. So estate sale. But we're talking about being alive, we sell real estate. You got it? So, with that being said, it says right here at the bottom, real property ownership is often described as a bundle of rights. Bundle of rights. When the person dies, when the person purchases a parcel of real estate, he or she is actually buying the rights previously held by the seller. You're buying somebody else's assets or rights. These rights include the right of possession, the right to use the property in any legal manner, the right of enjoyment, the right of exclusion, the next page, and the right of disposition or alienation. These are the 5 fundamental rights when you purchase property. You have the right to take possession of the property you just bought, to use it in any legal manner, the right to enjoy the property, the right to exclude people from the property, whoever you don't want there because it's yours, and the right to gift or sell the property. Within these rights, we have further rights to improve, devise, which is leave by will, to mortgage, encumber, cultivate, explore, mine, build, lease, license, dedicate, give away, abandon, share, trade, and exchange the property. So 5 fundamental rights, and then within them, you have more rights. I want you guys to focus on these 2 real quick. Here it says devise. Devise means to transfer or leave by will. So transfer property by will. And then there's this one. It says lease. I want you to circle and put an arrow towards the empty space. Put an arrow towards this empty space. It says lease. Circle lease. Bless you. Circle lease. And put an arrow towards the empty space. And you're going to write demise. Demise is the same thing as devise, but with an M instead of a P. M as in Mary. Demise. D-E-M-I-S-E. And the reason why I have it circled with lease is because demise is a transfer of property by lease. When I rent to you, it transferred the possession of the property, right? The right to use the property in any legal manner. The right of enjoyment. The right of the exclusion, right? But I did not transfer the right of disposition or alienation. But I did transfer the property to you as a tenant. That transfer is called demise. If it's transferred by will, devise. We're going to mention this a bunch of times throughout the book. Now, land versus real estate. What is land by itself? In front of land, I want you to write raw land. So land is raw land. R-A-W. R-A-W, where it says land. So pretty much as nature intended. Just land. Okay? So the term land refers to the surface of the earth, including water, and anything attached to it by nature, such as trees and bushes. It also includes the minerals and substances below the earth's surface, together with the airspace above the earth's surface, up to infinity and beyond. Thus, land may be defined as the earth extending downward from the surface to the center of the earth and upward to infinity, including anything permanently attached by nature. In front of nature, I want you to write only. Because again, we're defining land. So raw land is nature only. If you see a question that does not describe something that could have been man-made, right, then it's called land by itself. The moment we pave, the moment we put pipes into it, was it nature?
No.
No. So now it becomes real estate. Because we don't go and pave other people's property. We're going to pave the assets that we own. We're going to put pipes and we're going to put houses in the assets that we own. That's why real property ownership is called real estate. You guys got it? So the term real estate includes the land defined above and also all man-made improvements. Now, the word improvements includes both buildings erected on the land and streets, utilities, sewers, and other manufactured additions. So anything that was added to the property makes it real estate. You guys clear on definitions? Yeah. Great. On top, it says real estate then is defined as the earth's surface extending downward to the center of the earth and upward into space, including all things permanently attached to it by nature or by people, and all rights, benefits, and interests in it. We're going to go over all this in detail. So we have different rights to land. One of the things we have is called subsurface rights. So we have the surface is ours, we already know that. So we have our parcel of land. Surface is ours, anything below, anything above. Subsurface rights, or mineral rights, is anything that's below the surface. And these may be owned separately. For example, a landowner may sell his or her rights to any oil and gas found on the land to an oil company. I don't have the money to buy the machines to drill for oil, but you have an oil company. Why don't I just sell or lease the space to you? Come up with a deal where I get a percentage of everything you do, for instance. Does that make sense? So we can sell it separately. The landowner could then sell the land, the rest of the land, and to a purchaser, and in the sale reserve the rights to the coal that may be found in the land. This is also subsurface. So after these sales, three parties have ownership interests in the real estate. The oil company owns all the oil and gas. The seller owns all the coal. And what does the buyer get? Everything else. The rights to the rest of the property. You guys got it? Any questions here? No?
No.
Good. So you can sell everything independently. There's another one, air rights. So I told you that we own the surface, right? This is our parcel. We own the surface. Anything above to infinity is ours, right? We can sell that independently. And we find these a lot, as you guys highlight this. We find these a lot, for instance, in New York City. We have skyscrapers, but if you guys notice, in those really, really, really tall buildings, you'll notice that there's smaller buildings around. There's traditionally no tall buildings around the skyscraper, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because they paid everybody around to stay where they are, not to go above a certain height. So I bought your air rights. Anything above 100 feet, for instance, in altitude, right? Anything above 100 feet, you can't build. Why would I do that? Because in New York, they sell views. You guys got it?
Yes.
So I pay you to stay where you are. If I give you $1 million, John, to stay where you are you going to be upset?
Depends on how many years.
It depends. I give you $1 million to stay put. Why not? And then eventually sell the building because I build a skyscraper which increases the value of your property. It's a desirable neighborhood now. So either way. But you're right, Monica. It depends on the amount of years. We're going to talk about this in another chapter, that sometimes the restrictions, like this restriction that I bought your land on, could be for 25 years, 30 years. We all negotiate the price. But if I paid everybody $1 million around me to stay put, that's it. I can build above as high as the city allows. You guys are here because I paid you to stay there. You got it? So mineral or subsurface is anything below the surface. Air rights is anything above the surface. And these all could be sold separately. The next thing we have is water rights. Water rights on the next page. So if your property is close to water, you might own a portion of the water. These are called water rights. Can we sell the water rights to somebody else to explore? Sure. In this case, it says land bordering on oceans, seas, or large lakes affected by tide currents is known as littoral, and land bordered or traversed by a stream or waterway is known as riparian. An easy way to remember this is littoral rights, L for littoral. Littoral rights refer to lakes, L for lakes, or large bodies of water. Riparian rights starts with R, just like rivers. So anything with a stream is called riparian rights. So, if a stream is identified as non-navigable on a federal survey map, its bed is owned by the owner or owners of the adjoining land who have certain riparian rights that allow them to use the water. So if we go up, you have a question? No. Okay. So if we go up, you're going to see figure 5.3. In your book, there's a line right here. Right?
No.
Yes.
In your book, there's a line?
Oh, that is, yeah.
On the ground, yes.
Underground, yes?
It's underground.
It's in
This is water. There's a non-navigable stream. There's a line right here in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. If the bed is that low, it's not navigable, meaning commercial boats cannot go through. Then you own it. That's why your property here does not end here. It ends in the middle of the stream. So you own part of the water. If it's navigable, then your property ends there and the water is owned by the public. You guys got it? Mm-hmm. So you might own property and water. You got it? But it has to be identified as such in the federal survey map. So in New Jersey, the riparian rights most frequently referred to are the rights of landowners abutting tideflow lands like the Meadowlands along the Hudson, the Hackensack River. The Meadowlands, nothing goes through, so the people there own the water.
So it's just, so
I love the
therefore
reaction.
you can build docks, you don't need a permit. But if it's a lake,
Wait, you might be able to. You might not be able to.
you might not, okay.
You cannot just do whatever you want. We're going to go over all this stuff as well. Now, normally, when two property have a stream as their common border, the dividing line between the two properties is the middle of the stream, as I just showed you in this example. If the stream were suddenly to change its course, a process known as avulsion, the property line would not move, but would remain where it always had been. So the stream is going this way. It's rare, but it could happen where it comes back. That's called avulsion. The property line is still the middle of the stream. Good so far? Next we have accretion. Where it says accretion, I want you guys to write addition. Accretion is an addition or increase of land caused by the gradual depositing of solid material called alluvium by a contiguous body of water. It is the opposite of erosion, which results of loss of property. So accretion, you gain land. Erosion, you lose land. Accretion, you gain land. Erosion, you lose land. And there's another term, which most likely you're only going to have for the state exam or school exam, which is reliction. And reliction is the creation of dry land by gradual withdrawal of water from the land by lowering of its surface level. So we take water out, or we put land in, one or the other. But gradual withdrawal of water, it creates more land. Like Dubai, for instance. Dubai did not exist. Dubai was created, right? Next page, 69. It says real property versus personal property. What is the difference between real property and personal property? Well, it says everything that can be owned can be classified as either real or personal property. And anything that can be inherited is? What is it? Say it louder. Okay, irredentiment. Anybody else?
You weren't loud enough. Real.
Say it. You can say it.
No, you're the instructor.
No, I just like to have fun with this. You know this. I personally really don't care how you guys pronounce it as long as you know what it is. Okay? So, you can have real or personal property, and you can have stuff that you inherit, right? Now, real estate or real property has already been defined as the earth surface, including permanent additions and growing things attached to it, the airspace above it, and the minerals below it. Personal property, also called personality, is all property that does not fit the definition of real property. So, while real estate is fixed and immovable, personal property is movable. So, a watch? A watch is personal property. This remote is personal property. This wall is real property. The ground is real property. Okay, the floor, right? Now, tangible personal property is also referred as chattels and includes such items as furnitures, clothing, refrigerators, and bonds. Okay, so personal property, chattels, furniture, clothing, refrigerators, and bonds. Why do we need to know this stuff? What's personal property and what's real property?
Because when you're selling your house, it's usable and when it sells it.
It could be included with it. That's what you're saying. Got it. Assets. It could be included with the sale. So we need to know what goes with the property and what does not. Okay? So, it says right here, buyers and sellers must be guided to clear written agreement of what goes with the property being sold. Also, the methods of transfer of ownership differ further too. If it's real property ownership, it's transferred by deed, while personal property is transferred by bill of sale. If it's personal property, it's bill of sale. Or, as I usually like to compare it to, receipt. Every time you go to Home Depot and buy something, they give you a receipt, but they itemize. You bought sheetrock, 2x4s, the paint, the cables, right? Everything was itemized in that bill of sale. Bringing it from Home Depot to here is personal property. Once you put it up, it becomes real property. So that's what we say next. It is possible to change the status of an item of real estate to personal property. So a tree is real estate, but once you cut it down, it becomes personal property. And this is a process known as severance. Sever, to cut. Okay? The reverse situation is what I was telling you guys. You bring all the material, you put it up, it becomes real property. So real property could become personal property could become real property. Good so far?
Yes.
Great. This is an easy chapter. Next we have vegetation. Vegetation falls into two classes: trees, perennial bushes, and grasses that do not require cultivation are considered real estate. Annual crops such as wheat, corn, and garden vegetables are known as emblements and are considered personal property. So pretty much anything that requires cultivation is personal property. Okay? If it's there, came with the land, it's real property. You guys good with this one?
Yes.
Okay, so vegetation, personal property, emblements, if it's cultivated.
So lawn will be an implement.
Sorry?
Lawn,
Lawn, do you cultivate lawn?
or you plant it, you water it.
You maintain it.
If I start
Do you,
with
do you expect to cut it out and then sell it? Or consume it?
that's how you define cultivate.
Well, you either planting it or you're cultivating it. Planting for the purpose of being there is one thing, cultivating for the purpose of collecting it later, right? It's totally different. What are you gonna do with that grass? Okay. Nothing. Some people sell grass, you never know.
So cows?
Yeah, to cows. All right. On top, there's a figure, 5-5, real property versus personal property. And it gives you pretty much a sum of all this, like real estate, personal property, fixtures, or trade fixtures. All right? And we're going to go now into fixtures. What are fixtures? Obviously, if it says fix, it's something that's attached, right? Fixtures says an article that was once personal property but has been so attached to the land or to a building that is now considered part of the real estate is called a fixture. For example, heating systems, elevator equipment, kitchen cabinets, built-in dishwashers, and light and plumbing fixtures. See, the lights here became part of it. Can they be removed?
Yes.
Yes. Can they be replaced? Yes. But as of right now, they're part of it. They're so attached that they became part of it. So almost any item that has been added as a permanent part of the building is considered a fixture. Next, it says tenant and trade fixtures. What is the difference between tenant and trade fixtures? Tenants, I want you guys to write residential. Trade, I want you to write business or commercial. Every time you see trade, we're talking about businesses. So when we see the state exam, it talks about trade fixtures, we're talking about a business. For instance, these TVs are trade fixtures. They're the tools of the trade, the tools of the business. And there's a difference between tenant fixtures, trade fixtures, and regular fixtures. Tenant, residential, and trade is business. Now here at the bottom it says tenants must remove their trade fixtures before the termination of their lease. And any fixtures that are not removed after the lease expires become real property of the landlord. So, these TVs, do you think they're intended to stay here?
Yes.
If I ever leave, they stay?
No.
Of course not. I install them with the intention of removing later. And the landlord knows about this. But I have to take it before the lease expires, or they become they belong to the landlord. They become real estate and belong to the landlord. Next page, page 70.
Does this apply to like apartment buildings?
We're getting there. We're getting to, that's residential from what it's not for conducting business. So it's residential. We're going to talk about that in a second. It's where we get to Maria, yes. Trade fixtures differ from other fixtures in the following ways. What are trade fixtures, first of all? For business. So fixtures that belong to the owner of real estate, but trade fixtures are usually owned and installed by a tenant for his or her. Please underline business use, underline trade fixtures. Next, fixtures are considered a permanent part of the building, but trade fixtures are. So as I said, they know that I can remove this. The tenants, you're saying no?
I'm just playing with my
The tenant must, however, restore the property to its original condition before the end of the lease. So, if I remove the TV, there might be a few holes. This wasn't me, by the way. But there might be a few holes up there.
Did you take a picture before you rented?
Huh?
Did you take a picture before you rented?
Well, it was us, but it wasn't me. I know who did it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I pointed out this morning to him, I'm like, "Look, you could have installed the TV a little lower or make the hole a little higher." Anyway, to be fixed soon.
So that doesn't tell you that you just bought it.
It does.
We're not talking about Pedro, right?
We might be talking about Pedro. We might.
So what do, question. Question.
Yes, please, continue.
Say that. So what do tenant, landlord usually say you're not allowed to put any hole in the building if it's not written in the contract?
What?
Landlord, right? My current landlord, right? He says that you're not allowed to put any, holes in the building, in the wall, right? But it's not written in the contract, so can they fine us or sue us? But it's not written, it said it verbally.
It's not written specifically no holes, or it's not written any alterations?
I didn't read that one.
Okay. We're going to talk about, we actually going to talk about leases. We have a whole chapter just for that, chapter 12. So we're going to go over those things. How to make holes legally.
Perfect. I'm interested.
All right. Now, fixtures are legally considered real estate, but trade fixtures are legally considered to be personal property. Next. So you're asking about residential in this case. Tenant fixtures. These are residential, right? So underline tenant fixtures, underline residential. Can also be fixtures installed by a tenant in a residential rental property, including such items as bookcases, chandeliers, or even stoves. Look what it says. Actually, Melissa, do me a favor. Really, really, really loud. Could you read the green part? Could you do me the honors, please? Start here.
Without prior written agreement of the landlord, they become part of the real estate and belong to the landlord.
Just say it again, a little louder, please, so everybody can hear you.
Without prior written agreement of the landlord, they become part of the real estate and belong to the landlord.
I said louder, I didn't say faster, but that works. What I want you guys to do is underline without prior written agreement. Then put a star next to written agreement. So any alteration you make on the property, if you don't have a written agreement that the landlord allows you to do something, right? Then whatever you altered becomes the landlord's.
But this is in a residential house.
You're renting, you're living, that's residential. It's not for businesses, it's for where you sleep.
What
Okay?
if in the contract has no written agreement before you rent it, but they can add on later on?
No, any changes to a contract must be initial by all parties. But what I'm saying is, while you're there, the stove broke down, let's say. And you took it upon yourself to go and replace the stove without asking the landlord. Which a lot of people do this, right? Yeah, the newest and best belongs to the landlord. And you can argue all day long, yeah, but the old one was not working. Well, I never asked him to replace it.
Only if you keep in the old one and put it.
Yes, put it back.
If the tenants are allowed, that means they have to have permission to remove the fixtures. They are expected to restore the property to its original condition before they vacate the premises. So again, you can replace my stove. If I know that you replaced my stove, but you never got my authorization, I'll let you do it. Because at the end of the day, I'm coming after your stove. Unless I have something in writing that I allowed you to remove and I allowed you to restore. You got it? Where you go? You guys understand? So dirty.
Easy news though.
Keywords for state exam: without prior written permission. If it's not in writing, it's not valid for this type of alteration.
Because everything in life, if it's not right, it's not right.
Oh, not everything. Yes, Candice.
So in your example, you spoke about replacing appliances. I've seen units that have a hookup for a dishwasher, or washing machine, or dryer. You purchase that, and you take it and you use it. And when people leave, they take it. Is that illegal?
Wait,
Is
it was just the
supposed to be?
hookups?
It was just the hookups.
Then there was nothing there that was mine.
So it's only for replacing things that were already there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just gotta make sure the lease, if the hookup is there, it's kind of like implied.
Use it if you want to.
You can imply that you can use it,
Okay.
right? A lot of leases actually have the specifications regarding that you are allowed to install or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You guys good? All right. So let's figure out what constitutes a fixture or not. So there's legal tests to figure out if it's a fixture. And these tests are based on, one, the intention of the party annexing the item, the method of annexation of the item, the adaptation of the article to the real estate, and the relationship of the parties. There's an acronym for this. Maria. If you guys read, number 2 is method of annexation. Then it's the relationship of the parties, the intention of the party annexing the item, and the adaptation of the article. So, Maria, 4 legal tests to determine what is a fixture and what is not. Okay? I love acronyms. I'm always going to tell you that. Acronyms are easier to remember things. Okay? So, Maria, method of annexation, that's number 2. Relationship is number 4 there. The intention is number 1. And then the adaptation is number 3, right there. So, Maria. Okay?
It's too fast.
I'm right there. I charge extra for pictures. You guys good? Why do we have these tests? To figure out what a fixture might be. Now, although these tests seem simple, there's no uniformity in court decisions regarding what constitutes a fixture. See, articles that appear to be permanently affixed sometimes have been held by courts to be personal property, and items that do not appear to be permanently attached have been held to be fixtures. For example, wall-to-wall carpeting, what do you assume to be? A fixture or a removable item? A fixture, right? But they have been interpreted, right here, as the installation of an area rug. That means that the seller could remove it even if it was not specifically stated in the listing.
Right.
So the first thing is it belongs to the house when we look at it. But it might not be. So you need to know the method of adaptation, annexation, the relationship of the parties, the intention of the party annexing, and the adaptation of the article. Items like the front door key. Is the key movable or fixed? Movable. So therefore personal property, right? No, because it belongs to the front door. If it was any other key, like a car key, personal property. But because this key belongs to the house, clearly, then it's a fixture. So it's not that simple to say this belongs, or that belongs. No, we don't know. You guys got it? So licensees, please highlight, underline, put stars. Licensees should be sure to ask sellers which items are and are not included in the real estate transaction. We'll ask this again in chapter 10 in more detail, but every time you walk through a house, you should always ask the seller, is there anything here that you want to include or exclude from the sale? Even if it's empty. Because like I said, wall-to-wall carpet could be removed. So always ask. Any questions? No questions?
What does it say next?
Tell me what it says.
Oh, the summary.
It says, get out.
So that just-
Not yet? You want more? All right, so chapter 6. Just kidding, just kidding. We're all set. You want more?
No, tomorrow.
She said keep going.
Nah, keep going tomorrow. Tomorrow we gonna give it all we got.
Listen, I'll stay here until tomorrow. I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. Have a good night, guys. All right, listen up. There are days where we're going to leave early. There are days we're going to leave right on time. So be ready for that.
Appreciate that.
Okay?
We appreciate that.
If you'll know in advance, well, it depends on the chapters. Like today is a smooth chapter. Next week, for instance, we're going to have one day chapter, one chapter a day. So we might leave early, might leave late.